Well, hello again everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is Boyd here again with you. And today this is part 14 of our Enterprise refit build-up in the series. And today I'm out here finally getting to some of the assembly work on this. We've been waiting to get to some of the assembly for quite a while. And I know I've showed you guys a lot of boring sanding and prep work and things like that so far, but we're finally getting into some of the fun part of doing this model. It's all fun, but this is it's fun to actually get down to seeing things start to take shape here. What I wanted to show you guys today is this model is basically notorious for having some really large gaps and things like that around the pylons and around the various areas on the secondary hull here. And talking to some of the guys over at the Sci-Fi Model Action forums and some of the my own working with this model, I've come up with a few things on it to make a lot of those problems a lot better, and I wanted to show you guys what they were. If you can see it on the pictures here, my gaps that I have here on the pylon leading edges and here behind are actually really minimal, and I've got the hull fitting really nicely together here, where I'm only going to have to do some really light sanding here to make this big seam here work, and also the seam up here on the top that runs along the dorsal area of the model. And I've got this just taped together right now just to show you how nice this little modification that I'm about to show you works out, and will really help you out with you guys have probably looked at various builds on YouTube and different forums and heard about it, but yeah, there were some pretty bad fit issues, and it's a very simple method to fix that, or at least make it a whole lot better, so you only have to do very minimal putty work. So what I'll do right now is I'm going to shut the camera down for just a second here. I'll come back and put it on a tripod, and then what we're going to do is I'll disassemble this real quick, and I'll show you the modifications that I did on the inside of this to get this thing to fit a whole lot better. So we'll be right back with that. Alright everybody, I've got the model broken down now, and you can see that we've got our separate assemblies laying there. And I'm going to start off by showing you first this little modification that needs to be done on the secondary hull, and I'm going to zoom in on it for you here so you can see it up close. If you look right here where the pylons go inside on the walls of the secondary hull, there are these mounting tabs here, and basically what they are is your pylon goes in here like this, and it rests on these little tabs right here, and this whole thing is clamped together, so when you put your dorsal area on the top, it sits in these little tabs. Well, the problem with the model is that the tabs in there are they're too big. They stick out too far. So what happens is it doesn't allow that pylon to sit in there nice and flush and seat in there all the way. So when you try to close it all up, you get this tremendous gap here on the front and the back because it basically just cannot close down. The alignment is off between the pylon part and the connecting tabs. Now, when you grind those down just a little bit, I'd say maybe about 1/8 of an inch is what I had to take off of those. You're saying, well, now it's going to not have any support. Well, it does. When you put it in here and you see it's all mounted nice, it's still got plenty of meat to hook onto there. When you glue this all down, same thing on the top side. I'm going to show you the tabs here on the, I've light blocked this, but you can see it has these same tabs here on the top of the dorsal section. Those have all been grinded down about the same amount. And I'm just going to put this on here real quick for you. Actually got to get the other one here. I think this is the one for the right side, yeah. You can see that when this is laid on here, that you've still got plenty of meat to glue everything together with there. There's this whole area in here, including the area in between where the pylon actually goes into the these little bases here. There's plenty of meat to glue that, and you're not going to have any problems with them being too fragile or too loose or anything. Once you glue all this whole thing together, it's still going to be really strong. So that little modification right there will make a huge difference on how nice this will fit together. Now on the secondary hull, let me pull the camera back here because I'm zoomed in too much. Whoops, going the wrong way. The other issue with the fit on this has always been this seam line right here and how it fits with the fantail. You'll see people complain that they get a real huge gap on that area, and that the fantail doesn't fit very well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, just by making sure that all this is aligned really nice, that I'm going to set my fantail in here. It's got these little slots that it sits in, and you just got to kind of get it in there just right. And actually this little tab that's on the back right here, I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to actually file that down just a little bit because it's just too darn big to go in the slot right there, and it doesn't allow it to seat all the way up against there, and so you wind up with this horrible gap in the back. So that's another little problem that you can fix. But what I basically want to show you is when you get your hull all lined up and everything properly, that you've only got this tiny little gap right here. And actually when you line this down and make it all flush and everything, everything lines up really good. But it's really important that the sides of this hull have to be perfectly set in order for all that to work. So one of the issues that I noticed right away when I was putting this together, and you can see that I've got this jigsaw blade tucked in here, and you're saying, well, why is that? Well, what I found when I started gluing this together, or actually doing my dry fitting, is that here at the rear we were fitting pretty good, and at the front up by the arboretum window we were fitting pretty good, but in the center, no matter which way I positioned the part, I was getting this step right here. In other words, the lower part of the hull here was sticking out farther than these midsections, right around this area where the airlock and everything is on both sides. And I thought, wow, that's going to be kind of nasty. You're going to have to fill all that in or sand this down, and then of course you're going to lose all this nice seam line right here. And that's where you hear guys talking about they've had to go and once they putty this and everything, they had to go rescribe it and all that. Well, what I came up with is that these parts were bowed in just a little bit. The shape, the curvature is not exactly the same as the bottom part here. So what I did to solve that is I glued this area here about 2.5 to 3 inches in on both sides, and I did the same thing up here. When I actually left this part here with no glue in it, and I let these dry. I got these nice and centered so they were aligned on the front to the back, and that our line right up here at the front was nice and flush on both sides, so we know our deflector dish is going to fit in there really nice. And then I let it dry, and then what I did is I came back and I found this. Actually, what I came up with here was this jigsaw blade. It fit in here perfectly, and it has a little bit of a spring tension to it, so I can keep a little bit of pressure on it. I slid it down in there until I was able to push these sides out to where that they were nice and flush with the bottom part here, and we no longer have that step action going on there. So now we've got a nice level surface, and we're just going to have to do very, very minimal sanding on that to get that to look really nice. Once I did that, I glued it from the inside with my regular tester's model glue, and just let it dry. I let it dry overnight, and this doesn't need to be in here anymore. I just want to have it in there to show you what I've used. This is all good to go. What I'm going to do now is I actually put a really nice thick bead of glue on that on the inside, so it's not going to go anywhere, and it's also going to act as a light blocker so I don't have any light leaks on this little seam right here. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in here and spray this all down with black first, and then spray it all down with white, which will be, to help bounce my light around in there like I always do. And we'll have this thing completely light blocked on the inside of the seam. And that's not going to allow any light to get out of there whatsoever. Then we've got to come up here and do some more of our squadron putty work to get this top part of the arboretum window as nice looking as the bottom here. But that's all very minor because I've got it all fitting really nice and flush. We're not going to have any problems getting that to look good at all. A couple coats of squadron putty and then sand that down just like we did before, and we're going to be good to go. And this little mark right here is just, I had this painted already, and that's just a little paint that I was using some acetone to clean it up a little bit, and it's not in the plastic like it appears there. It's going to be very easy to clean that up. So we're going to have a nice clean looking secondary hull here. And again, just laying this part back on the top again. Once you make sure that those side walls and everything are lined up, look at how nice this fits. There's hardly any gap there whatsoever. And I noticed that when I had it laid on here, there was a little step right in these areas right here too, where this one was a little higher than the other one. So before I start even doing any putty work on that at all, I took my little round file and just filed that so that they were nice and flush on the front and the back, so that when you put your putty in there, you're not trying to, what a lot of people do is they don't realize the plastic is not correct. So you're putting putty in there and you're sanding it, and you're finding out, well, it keeps coming back. Well, your putty, the plastic is harder than the putty, so you're going to sand all your putty out of there, and the plastic imperfection in the plastic is going to come back. And you keep doing that over and over, and that's the real reason for it. But you can see I wasn't squeezing these together when I had the pylons in there, but they'll fit that nice once you get, once I glue this all, and I'm actually putting pressure, putting some little clamps on this, you can see how perfectly nice that fits. The gaps on there are minimal. There's a little one right here where they just didn't include enough material. No matter what you do with it, if you slide it a little bit forward, you can close that gap, but now you got the gap here, and you've also got the edge at the front where it's sticking out too far. So when you position it properly, no matter what you do, you still got this little hairline seam right here, which is, it's no problem to fill that one. It's not that big of a gap. But I just thought I'd show you guys that. Look how nice it fits here at the back by the fantail. These are all, you're not going to lose any of these lines or anything. You're going to be able to glue this together and not worry about any light leaks or anything, because they have an overlapping seam there, and you shouldn't have to scribe all these lines back in this like a lot of people have to do if you just do a nice job preparing the model and looking it over. And basically I found it just by looking in there when I was trying to put it together and seeing, okay, what is interfering, what's hitting, and you can find it and just remove the material. It's only plastic. I mean, you can get rid of it. It's not, you're not going to kill the model, and you still got plenty of structural integrity there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it over to my spraying area, and I'm going to spray this whole thing down with black. I'm not going to show you guys that because I've showed it a lot of that before. You guys are familiar with it. And I'm going to spray it with my white, and then what we're going to do is we're going to come back and start installing some strip lighting in this, and then we'll be able to lay in our windows here for the arboretum. I don't know if I'll get that to that in today's segment or not, but once all the lighting and everything is placed in the bottom of this, then I can start thinking about putting in my shuttle bay and a couple other things, and we're going to really start moving ahead here on the progress part. Now, I mentioned I'm going to be using crystal clear on the majority of these windows. I think maybe here I'll use the kit supplied windows. If they fit good, I'll have to see. I'll have to do a little test fitting. But all these little smaller windows here, I'm going to use micro crystal clear, so I don't have to worry about masking them or anything. I'm going to paint the entire model, and at the very end, after I put all the decals and everything on it, I'll come back and put the crystal clear with my little syringe and just inject it into these little window ports and wipe it off, and we'll be done. And we don't have to do all that crazy masking and all that stuff where you get scratches around your windows, or your tape has overlapped, and when you pull it off you see imperfections in your paint around the windows and things like that. We're going to have this looking nice and clean, and that's the way to go for doing windows, because these windows are small enough where the crystal clear will fill them in without sinking in. The arboretum windows there are a little too big, so I'll be using some nice polycarbonate plastic that's really nice and transparent, way superior to the kit supplied windows, because we did all that work on the arboretum. We want to see it in there. Same thing on the officer's lounge and the rec deck. I'll be using that type of plastic. That's almost as clear as regular glass, so it'll look really nice. Okay guys, enough windbagging here. I'll come back in a little bit and I'll show you a little update here of this thing all painted, and we're going to start laying in some LED lights on this. So we'll see you in just a few minutes. Be right back. Hey there again, everybody. Well, I'm back here again, and what I've been working on now is I've applied some putty in the seams there on both sides that we've been working on. And what I did is I used some masking tape to lay down adjacent to the edges there really close, so I protected all my other little grid lines there from getting putty in them. And then before it dried, I wiped it down again with some more of the acetone. And again, I used some of the 3M putty on this joint here because it's not a flexible joint, it's just a cosmetic joint, so I used some of that to fill it. We like to use our good squadron putty on the other stuff that's going to be a little flexible, like we're going to use that around the pylons here when we do those. But what I've got here now is I've got this all sanded down and prepped and ready to go, so I'm ready to paint it. So I'm going to head over to the paint booth now and get it painted, and then when I bring it back I'll show you how she turned out, and then we're going to have some fun putting in some lighting. I've got some strip lighting that's going to go in the sides here, and a little bit down there below the shuttle bay to light that. And we've got to put our arboretum in, and of course before we do that we've got to remember to put our glass in. I hope I don't forget to do that. So okay, let me take this over and get it sprayed, and I'll bring it back, and we'll be going on from there. I'll be back in just a little bit. Okay guys, well I'm back now real quick, and I'll show you that I've already soldered, or I've already installed one strip of LED tape in here on this side, and I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. I stayed right in between the row of windows that runs all the way down here. So this, pretty much these two strips right here are going to take care of all the lighting on the sides, the arboretum, and everything there. And this one will take care of the other side. I'm just peeling off the backing here, and I wanted to make sure that my wires are towards the front. Get this off of here real quick. And we're going to put this in, and then we're going to tack it down again with some of our CA glue that we used. Slide this in through here. And there's a nice perfect gap right in between these rows of windows that if I'm careful I can keep it right in there and it won't block any of them. So I think we're looking pretty good right about there. Start putting her down. And that's worked out pretty well. We're equal on both sides there. Just making sure I stick it down real good all the way across. And then we're going to use some of our CA glue again. What I'm going to do here is, like I always do, I'm going to put a little bit just ahead of these wires right here so that they don't have any chance of getting torn free or anything. And I'm going to put a little bit right on the ends of the tape so it can't start peeling on the very end. I'm trying to keep my glue away from the windows as much as possible. Okay, I got enough of that in there, and then I'm just going to hit it real quick with my zip kicker here, and this is going to lock them down instantly. We're done. So that's that. What I'll do now is I'm going to set this up real quick and actually solder my wires here a little bit so I can connect power to this, and then I'm going to do a little light test here, so we'll be right back with that. We'll temporarily set the shuttle bay and the arboretum in there too and see how everything's going to look. Be right back. Well, here we go again, guys, and you can see we've got the lights on now, and I can't say anything bad about that at all. They really look good. They're coming through all nice and bright on both sides, and that's just from those two strips of light really that are laid in on the sides. I put two more short ones here in the back that are lighting my my little special effect paintwork that I did here at the base of the shuttle bay floor, and to get that little Raytheon lighting there that I wanted for the fantail where the Enterprise decal goes. There's also one little LED that's going to go on the bottom side of that, and then I've got to put a single one up in here inside that's going to light these little red guys. But let's have a look inside the shuttle bay, and you can see it's probably going to not want to focus too well because it's so deep. But man, you can see all that's really looking good too. And the lighting in that is just right. I don't want to go any darker or any brighter than that, so I don't think I'm even going to need to put any lights on the ceiling because it would just make it too bright. Let me see if I can zoom just a little bit here and maybe it'll focus on that far panel in there. I'm not sure if it will or not. It's trying to, but it's awful tough to get a good shot inside these things. Just wanted to show you, you can see all of our nice detail with our railing and everything. It's just looking really, really good. We'll put a couple of shuttles and a worker bee or two in there, and that'll add a little bit of detail. And our floor is going to light up, like I said, and that's going to be neat. And let's take a look here at the arboretum, if I can get in there. Tilt it just right here. And you can see in there pretty good. I mean, it's a little blurry, but wow, it looks like daylight in there. I mean, it's just so nice and bright. You really can't beat that. It's just like being in the park. Maybe you can even see Scotty mowing the grass in there. But from the front here, you can really see how much light it's throwing in there. So, I mean, it's just right. It's like natural daylight, like it should be. And we've got that little lens to put on the ceiling with the cloud decals. It's going to tint that blue just a little bit, but that'll look really good. So let me turn out the lights here. And you can see we've got light leaks all over the place from our seams that were just held together with tape here, but you know, we'll get those all taken care of. And here's a shot from above where you can see that how the floor is going to glow on the shuttle bay. So I think that looks really, really neat. And here down, if you look down in here, you can see that kind of the effect that we'll get once those little red lights on the top are lit. They're kind of glowing a little bit right now, but not enough. And maybe in the little bit dimmer light here, you can see inside the shuttle bay a little bit better. I think you can. So anyway, that's it, guys. There's our little fantail lighting effect that I hope is going to work out. It should once I get all the light leaks sealed. So that's it, guys. I'm really, really happy with that. We got a lot done today, and I'll be making some good progress. Hopefully by the weekend I'll have this entire secondary hull built. We'll put the pylons on, seal up all the seams, and of course we got to run our wires down through there for the lighting for the pylon effects for the warp nacelles, and the we've got the little spotlights that go in there. A couple little wires need to go through there, but not too many. And so we should be in pretty good shape. And then we'll be able to mount the deflector dish and all that. And I've got to drill a hole here at the top to run my wiring up to the saucer as well. But I'm still working on those Aztecs on the side, so they're coming along pretty well too. So we're really rocking now. It won't be too long. We'll be getting this thing in one piece and then start all of our nice detail painting and everything. So, alright guys, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch up with you in a few more days. And until then, I hope you're building your models and having fun, and we'll see you next time. Take care everyone, and happy modeling.